Today we're going to talk about how failure can actually be a good thing coming up. Hey guys, it's Travis Vroman, and today I want to talk about why failure can be a good thing. Failure is one of those things that has always been associated with negativity. You know, if you fail at something, that's always a bad thing. And you know, from the time that we're put through school, we're always told that failing is a bad thing. If you get an F on a test or something, that's bad. And in lots of scenarios in life, that's absolutely true. You know, obviously, if you don't get good grades in school, it makes it hard, if not impossible, to graduate, and without that, it makes it hard to get a job, and so on and so forth. But there are times when failure is a very important and positive thing, and that is when you can use it to learn from your failures. There's an expression that says, "What doesn't kill you makes you stronger," and for the most part, that's true, unless it's, of course, something that's disabling, in which case that's terrible. But failure can be looked at much in the same way. Most of the time, it's not going to completely destroy you, failing at something. Obviously, sometimes it will, but most of the time it can be used as a learning exercise. So if you fail at releasing a game, for example, or you miss a deadline, that could be considered a failure. Or maybe you try to execute something that you're not comfortable with and you fail at executing that thing. All of those can be used as opportunities to learn. What could you have done differently that maybe would have given you a better rate of success? What could you possibly have thought about or planned out in advance to increase your chances for success? I mean, most importantly, why did you fail? What are the specific reasons that you failed? And it's not just, well, I didn't release a game. We'll use that as an example. If you didn't release a game on time, let's say you missed a deadline to release a game. Maybe you set the deadline yourself, or your boss set it for you, or whatever. It doesn't really matter. The important point is to look at why you actually missed that deadline. Was it poor planning? Was it not enough people? Was it you bit off maybe more than you could chew? Was there upskilling that was needed? Maybe you didn't have the proper tools, or maybe you were trying to use a new tool that you weren't familiar with, which kind of falls under the upskilling thing. Maybe it's external circumstances, because sometimes external circumstances can cause you to fail too. And there's ways to sort of adjust the amount of impact that has as well. So take, for example, you have a deadline of 2 weeks to finish something, and you're going to need that entire 2 weeks to finish what it is. And let's also say, for the sake of this example, that the 2 weeks was an accurate estimate of how long it would take to get all this done. Now let's also take into account, let's say halfway into it, you got sick with the flu and you were down and out for 3 or 4 days. And now you're mostly better, and you come back to it, and now you're 3 to 4 days behind, which, if we're considering this in the business world, is almost an entire week. And now you needed that extra week to get the tasks done, and you physically don't have enough hours in the day, or even overnight, to get it all done. You're down to the wire, and you're not going to be able to get it done. And ultimately, you come up to the deadline comes and goes, you're not finished. You've failed to meet your deadline. What could you have done differently here? In this case, it's an opportunity to learn from what just happened. Right away, the first thing that should be on your mind is, I didn't account for the fact that I could have gotten sick. You can account for that by maybe adding padding to your next schedule. So whatever it is that you're planning on doing, when you're estimating how much time it takes, and you're setting up a deadline, or you're trying to discover what a deadline should be at work or what have you, take that into account. Take into account, like, hey, if I wind up getting sick, or there's another project that I have to drop this one and go look at, I don't know, a production bug that takes you 2 days of time, whatever. Factor that into your total estimate. That may prevent you from failing again next time it comes around. And it's just looking at failures like that and making sure to carefully and thoughtfully analyze why you failed at something. Time tends to be the most common cause of failure. It doesn't typically tend to be skills or tools or things like that. It tends to be time. Now, some of that time could be because you don't know this stuff and because you need time to upskill, but ultimately it comes back to time. So time management can be a very tricky thing, and failing at time management can be a very painful experience, but learning from that experience, that failure can turn into a positive in the long run. And so that's my overarching point, is that failure shouldn't always necessarily be viewed as a negative thing, even if that's only in the long term. Maybe the short term, yes, you failed to deliver something on time, that's a negative thing. But turn it into a positive thing by learning why you failed and doing your best to adjust for that so that next time it doesn't happen. So that's really all I've got on that today. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know some of the ways that maybe you guys have failed in the past and what you've done to try to prevent failing for that same reason again. And maybe some of the ways that you try to overcome or try to short circuit failure going forward. Let me know what some of those things are, because I'd be interested in that. So again, thank you guys for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I will see you guys tomorrow.